say.
Email is? I mean, it's interesting, right? I mean, so I almost have to bring this up, even though I don't want to, is new marketers, people who are just coming on the scene, trying to build their internet business or build their physical business, their bricks and mortar business, while adding in online traffic streams, online customer sources. More often than not these days, say, isn't email dead, or does email still even work anymore? Which is fascinating, because back in the day, everybody was like, email doesn't work. Nobody will ever buy anything from email. And everybody was skeptical when it was working like crazy. And now that it's like the standard, everybody thinks it's dead, even though it's like it's the backbone of everything. And so I think we should discuss that today.
Okay. I think I should.
So first, what's up?
I'm just talking to myself. I'm trying to get centered here in the screen. I thought I was centered, but now it looks like, all right, now I'm much better.
You're going to be off center for the rest of your life, whether you like it or not.
That's true. Well, I never.
I'm very happy about that myself. So first of all, guys, email marketing 101. If you have email marketing questions, if you want to know how it applies to your business, if you want to solve an email marketing problem, if your deliverability sucks, if you're looking to increase your responsiveness, if you want to know how often to email your list, if you want to know how to write better copy, if you want to come up with how to come up with better subject lines, if you need to figure out what to write about because you have writer's block, if you don't know how to write emails that then convert into sales, ask those questions in the comments. We're going to do our absolute best to answer them for you here today. And if you don't ask any questions, we're just going to monologue. We're going to go back and forth, and we're going to try to volley it, not go too long. But seriously, we want
unaccustomed as I am to monologuing. We'll try to bear up if there's no questions.
That's right. We'll just we'll suffer through it. Why do people think email is dead? Why do new aspiring online business owners think that email is outdated, outmoded, not important? What are some of the reasons that you've encountered, Joshua?
Well, I mean, right off the bat, it's not sexy anymore. It's not brand new. It's not breakthrough. Everybody thinks so that they want the latest, greatest technology, and there's a tendency to bypass the tried and true. And then also there's the marketers out there that use that as a way to, to share their vision for whatever they're trying to get attention of. And they're trying to use it as an excuse. Like if they're marketing something that goes counter to email, it's much easier to scare people with email being dead and you need to try my new technology. And that's a much easier way to interrupt their attention and gain attention and market new things. Not that new things are bad. I love new things. I'm always eager to be on the cutting edge of new stuff. But it doesn't negate how powerful email is when built and done right. And I think there's so many people now, that's the other side of it, that aren't seeing the results that they want to see with email because they're not using it right. And it's not as easy as it once was. You've got to have some chops and some skills, and you got to know what you're doing to try to, build that responsiveness into your list. It's not as easy as to just the laydowns as it was, when email was all breakthrough in like 97, 98 timeframe. That was like all the rage. There was no competition. It was easy to talk to. And so it's a different, it's a different time and space, but frankly, for those that know how to do it, it's even better. And I don't see it ever being replaced, frankly. I mean, not to say that I shouldn't say that, because who knows what the future holds in terms of some sort of shift,
right?
And so on. But it's the only platform that I see that has the ability for direct communication in the cost-effective way that it does, without the resistance.
That's right.
So.
Well, and without many of the pitfalls that a lot of the other pieces have. But the thing is that all the other new stuff, all the stuff that's trending now, is absolutely useful, absolutely valuable, absolutely something that, to a certain degree, you can utilize if the basis, the central nervous system of your business is built the right way. And my experience is that email is, so far, the best central thing to focus on. So we're going to talk about that more. Gene, good morning.
Dudes. Love it, Gene.
Gene, I tried to do something, and I want to know how you did it. I'm sure it wasn't that complicated, or maybe it was super complicated. I don't know. How did you, I believe this morning at 10:30, by the way, happy 11/11, everybody. Make a wish. Make a wish. All right. Did you make your wish?
I did.
Me too. All right. So, Gene, did you make your wish?
Go ahead and compliment her, because I want to compliment her too.
So you did a live stream this morning, or at least you were planning on it. And I think you emailed your list about it. I think that's what happened. And I clicked on the email and I was like, whoa, this is interesting. There's a Facebook Live permalink, but she's saying that she's going to be going live in her group later today. And so I did it on my phone, which wasn't the best because it somehow took me to Messenger or something. I wasn't able to quite get in there. But I want to know, how did you schedule, how did you plan to go live in advance? Did you do it from your laptop or did you do it from your phone? Did you go inside your group? Like, what were the steps you went through in order to do that? I'm very interested.
Was it a third-party system that you used to notify?
Should we talk about that like in person on a different day because it's too complicated to explain in text? Anyway, if you can give us any information around that, it'd be cool, because I tried to do it after I saw you do it and I couldn't figure it out.
Which, by the way, Telman, if you go over to your social shares, I mean, in Restream, if you click on update titles, and then it'll take you to another tab that says social share or something, where you can, I think, through Restream do something similar.
In the setup?
Yeah, go to destinations.
Oh, okay. I'm going to open up.
And then it's weird. Like if you go to destinations, click titles, then you'll see that there's 3 tabs now, which you can't see from the regular destinations tab.
Update titles?
No, yeah, the one that, right. And then you'll see there's 3 tabs at the top. One says destination,
Social
one says
alerts.
titles,
Yeah.
and then one says social alerts. And I think that's a similar system. It's just weird that you can't get it from,
that is cool.
From the mainstream.
All right. The mainstream. That could be a good character.
Yeah.
Be very boring. Okay. Great. All right. I'm going to deal with this later. Thanks for the heads up, Joshua. So let's get back to email. So one question I have for our viewers is, on a scale of 1 to 10, how important is email to your business right now as it stands, right? How important is email to your business right now? For me, it's an absolute 10. Absolute 10.
Yep.
And so I'd like to talk a little bit about why, like the perks. Let's talk a little bit about what makes email such a unicorn in the internet world, even though it's a really old unicorn, right? Email's old enough that it wasn't called a unicorn when for the first many years that people have been using it for the first 20 years, whatever. So one of the reasons that email...
Gene says 12.
Nice. And then she says, from a laptop inside of the group, schedule was an option, and I used Facebook.
Oh, cool.
And then I shared the link that they provided. All right. I'll try that too. Cool. Thanks for the heads up. So email has all sorts of perks. There are all sorts of reasons that it's really, really amazing. But one of those reasons is because it's decentralized. Decentralized. There's no one company that owns all the email addresses. Okay? There's no one, let me repeat that. There's no one company that owns all the email addresses. So let's say you're a banjo player And let's say that you're starting to get pretty good and you're building a following. And let's say you have 10,000 fans on your email list who love buying your new albums when you release them, who love coming to your shows. Most of your fans are local or semi-local from shows that you've played, festivals that you've played at. And you even started doing some Facebook Lives, and you're playing banjo on a regular basis, and people love your banjo playing. Sometimes you collaborate with other musicians, right? And your email list is growing. Now, in the meantime, you're really hustling online. Your Facebook following is growing. You've maxed out. You have 5,000 friends, and you've even expanded beyond your personal profile, and now you're focused on building out your music profile, right? Whether that's your band name, your name, or however you have it set up. You've even perhaps started playing around here and there with a little paid advertising, but you haven't quite gotten it to work yet in a profitable way. Your Twitter following's growing, and you tweet regularly. You follow Amanda Palmer's work in the art of asking, and you're inspired by her Twitter madness, and you're doing the tweets. There's a lot of TikTok in the news lately. Lots of TikTok. China, Microsoft, madness. You're jumping on TikTok, taking advantage of the TikTok tsunami, and maybe you're on Instagram, kicking it Insta style, doing all the pictures of your stuff, whatever. And I'm not that hip with social media, honestly. I can't even talk like I know what I'm talking about with social media. And this is one of the really important parts, is that you can. And your YouTube channel. I'm sure you're pushing it in your YouTube channel. In the meantime, if you're a one-person show and you're doing all these things on all these channels, you have 5 full-time jobs, my friend. Okay? If you're pushing on all these channels, you have 5 full-time jobs.
If you're doing it effectively, yes.
You have to. I mean, to stay in contact with people, to respond, to learn how all the platforms work, to pay attention to all the changes that are happening on the platforms, to take advantage of them, and to really grow your audience. As a one show.
Except that I see people just posting. They do a post or they do a video on Facebook, then on YouTube or whatever, and they're concerned about, like, why aren't I having a tsunami of subscribers coming into my all my platforms? And they're it's each one you have to go deep with, and there's nuances to each one of them.
I realized something really interesting. I was thinking about this earlier today, but it just clicked in my head, which is, so one of the reasons that email is harder now, or at least it's more detail-oriented, is because of personalization. We have found that the less personal your email is, the fewer people open it, read it, and react to it. Shockingly enough, right? The more personal your communication is, and the more genuinely personal and interactive it is, the more your people are going to pay attention to you. So on social media, here's how this comes across, is that you make a post, and let's say it's a Facebook Live video. So when people like it, share it, and comment, if you this isn't complicated, it's kind of common sense, but most people don't do it. I'm often guilty of not doing it, which is you like or show some sort of a emotional reaction to every comment. You reply to every comment. You tag the person's name in every comment. And if you're feeling feisty, you send them a private message and you say, thanks for commenting. Okay, now, when you do this and you get in the habit of doing this and interacting with your people on a consistent and regular basis, when you are responsive to them, guess what happens when you want them to be responsive to you? They give a fuck. Yeah. That's what happens.
Surprise!
What happens when you don't pay attention? They don't pay attention. So here's what's happened. Watch this. We know this on social media. It's one of the things I hate about social media, and I used to love about email, which is I could write an email, send it out into the ethers, 100,000, 200,000 people would get it, and thousands of dollars would pour into my bank account, and I'd do a little dance and go out to dinner. Okay? And did this for years and years and years. It was awesome. Until slowly and steadily, the responsiveness, even with awesome emails and crazy emails and entertaining content, the responsiveness of my email list started going down. And we've talked about friend, colleague, and mentor Dean Jackson several times in a bunch of our live streams. Super smart email marketer, one of the OGs of email, arguably the inventor or creator of the squeeze page. And Dean came up with a 9-word email. And the 9-word email is really powerful. Often you just put the first name in the subject line, or the first name with a question mark, and then you have a 1-sentence email that's a question. And the idea is, do you still want help with blank? Whatever your thing is, right? Do you still want help growing carrots? Whatever it is that you're teaching or showing people how to do. But what I realized just now was that, he teaches a methodology where you can sell high-end programs exclusively through email. $5,000, $10,000 workshops, home study courses, and weekend workshops through email alone, and often without a sales letter. Okay, just an email in an order form. And so I realized that when those email interactions occur, it happens over a series of emails. And so you send out one email and someone raises their hand, says they're interested, and they reply back. And then you reply back to them and you ask some questions and they reply, and then you reply back to them and you address what they said and you ask some more questions, and you do this a few times. And then if it makes sense, they end up buying your product or service because it's clearly a good match. And it's great, but it's just like social media. It's the same thing. It's just an email. You're emailing and going back and forth. And so this idea yesterday struck me of what would happen if I started personally replying to every single email that my list sent me every single time. Okay? And if I started writing more emails specifically for the purpose of just connecting with my people on my list so that they would reply, so that I could reply to them every single time. It's going to get monotonous, hours a day in the email box, just replying to these emails. And at some point, I'm not going to keep doing it. I'm absolutely certain of this. But I think it's an exercise that I might try to deeply and dramatically reconnect with my email list in a way that nobody is doing right now. So anyway, the revelation was personalization, interactivity, and connection. At the end of the day, personally replying to your people on a consistent and regular basis is one of the quickest, easiest, and fastest ways to skyrocket the responsiveness of your people on any platform, email or otherwise. And I would highly recommend that you give it a shot. Yeah, that's right. Yep. That's right.
I don't have anything to add to it that's more brilliant than what you just said. So I'm keeping my mouth shut.
Gene says truth. That's right. I think it's truth. I mean, maybe I'm totally full of crap, but I think it's a good idea. So one of the things about email, we talked about it being decentralized. So Joshua, have you ever had your Facebook ads account shut down?
Yep.
Yeah,
multiple times for clients, for myself personally. It's an ongoing battle, and it's the same thing with Google. And you hear about the Google slap, right? And that's because when they shift something, you're leveraging their platform, but it's not yours. You don't have control over the communication over the platform. And same thing with Twitter. When Twitter decides that you're going against the rules, when Facebook decides arbitrarily or not, what's the golden rule? He or she who has all the gold makes the rules. Well, that's who owns your platform. Yep. Unless you have a cross, purpose, a way to build it out. And the same thing applies to, like you said, any type of platform. That's why having your own database, but more importantly, having the expectation and the anticipation of looking forward to communications from you, however you're doing that, whether it's via text, whether it's through an app, whether it's email, phone calls, direct mail. there's no substitute for expectations. Like when people were building apps, all of a sudden they were like, "Oh, that's the rage." Let me build my own app, and it's like having my own messenger. Yeah, okay. Well, what's it going to do for people so that they want to install that app on their phone or desktop, so that they actually not only install it but will use it and will communicate with you through that medium.
Right.
And now you got to retrain them on that, and you've got to actually provide something that's useful that they want.
That's right. So each one of we're just going to call them social media platforms, because at some point there will be platforms that are clearly not social media anymore. But there are right now traffic sources that are absolutely not social media. We'll talk about those too. But if you start thinking about each social media piece as a traffic source to build your list, to build your database, to build your platform,
your own platform.
But the thing is, platform doesn't mean you have to start your own social media platform.
Right.
Platform means that you have your own way of directly communicating with your people that can't be fucked with. Okay? That someone else does not have control over. So in the world of email, can your email provider shut you down?
Sure.
Yes, absolutely. And it will happen to you if you grow to any significant size. But there are hundreds, if not thousands, I'm sure there are thousands at this point, of email providers. There are many, 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 many different ways that you can get your emails sent and delivered. Okay? But you, at the end of the day, you have a CSV file. You have a spreadsheet with all your people on it. Okay? And if you have an Aweber account and Aweber decides they don't like you anymore, too bad. You can go to 100,000 different places and upload that list and be back in business in 72 hours or less. Okay?
Provided that you have built it properly, that you're not just scraping email addresses and spamming and doing all that stuff. If you're actually building it and with permission-based opt-ins and that type of thing, then yeah, you can move it anywhere.
Let's talk about that a little bit more, because especially for people that are new to email marketing, I don't think those distinctions are necessarily are there. So I'm actually in a group. I joined this group on Facebook, so spammy, called Email Marketing. And it's the biggest email group on Facebook. And I looked in there and I was like, whoa, this is really weird. As far as I can tell, either most of the people in there, or at least most of the people that are active, are not in Western countries. They're not in the States. They're not in Europe, and they're not in Australia or New Zealand. I think that most of them are in Asia and India for the most part. And
what was the country that you said before India?
Just Greater Asia.
Oh,
like
okay.
You
just broke up on me, so I didn't hear it.
Yeah. And you can tell by people's names, right? And just a very high percentage of non-standard European names. So I am making some assumptions, but they're like, who wants to buy a list of 100,000 names? And I'm just like, are people still doing this kind of crap? So it's important that you understand the difference. What we're talking about is you building an email list around your name and your face and or your company, okay? So that when people receive email from you, they went to your website, they intentionally and purposely entered their name and entered their email address because they wanted to join your list to hear from you on a regular basis about the thing that you specialize in or that your business specializes in. And again,
or for some particular purpose, like to register for a workshop, or a webinar, or to get a special report, or a whole host of other things that not necessarily to start off subscribing, but it's a door open where they've made the intention to get more information from you, and they're aware that they did it.
Right. You didn't purchase their name. They're not getting email out of the blue from some jackass that they do not know. Can you do that legally?
Yes.
In many cases, the answer is yes. Not in all cases. Strangely enough, everybody still considers that spam, but it's not technically spam unless there's no unsubscribe link, right?
Right.
So, but we don't buy lists of names and mail them. That happened in the early days of the internet, and it still does happen, but it's an uphill battle. There's no point, right? What you could be doing, instead of buying names and trying to mail them and dealing with all of the BS that is involved in doing that, is instead you could put your money into for example, a solo ad. And if you go out to an email list and your email then becomes an advertisement and it gets people on that list.
Define what solo ad means to people that are brand new.
So solo ad is in no way a social media platform. This is a source of traffic that is not a social media platform, right? And so there are many email list owners who have built email lists that their business, either fully or partially, is an advertising model. And so just like magazines that sell full page ads, okay, which most magazines do, an email list owner will sell a solo ad or an email broadcast. It's a single email that goes out usually to their whole list or a agreed upon segment of their list, and you pay them a certain amount of money either to send that email or you pay them per click. And the clicks are people on their list who are interested in your email and then want to go onto your website. And then you'll either sell them a product or service and they'll get on your email list, or you'll put an opt-in page up in front of it and they'll put in their name and email to get on a webinar or get the special report or get the email sequence or get the video or whatever, so they can start hearing from you on a regular basis. You're going to have 1,000 times better luck with putting that money into actual traffic of real people that are actually going to be interested in the long-term business that you're building than you're ever going to be buying names and spam, just sending them spam email, right?
For sure.
So really, so that's a solo ad. Very common in the internet marketing world, kind of common in the personal development, self-improvement space, kind of common in the survival prepper space, kind of common in the weight loss, health, and nutrition space. Outside of that, I don't see a lot of solo ads happening in other industries. Doesn't mean that you can't find them. It's just there aren't as many, right?
And sometimes there's great list owners that have highly responsive lists, like, of a few thousand to maybe like in the 10,000 range. And they never think of using that list for providing solo ads. And so oftentimes you can do some outreach to that list owner and set up a joint venture deal or a side deal directly with that person. And those are some of the greatest opportunities because they've never, ever promoted anything or, that's external of their own stuff. So when it comes across that way, even if it's not an endorsement, that it's just a purchased ad space, the fact that it's coming through their email relationship with their list implies a certain level of endorsement. To, obviously you've got to make sure that you're on the up and up and that everything is first rate. But
I want to talk about a really great way to build a giant list that puts you in the pole position, and it is so good. This is, honestly, I think this is the best way to build a new email list, as long as you're not afraid of hard work. Okay, if you're not afraid of hard work and you're entering a new industry, you can do this with existing business, existing industry, way easier. Okay, but you can be in a new business, a new industry, new vertical, new niche, and you can start an email list with zero advertising dollars. And I'm going to tell you how to do it right now. I recently was forwarded an email from a friend, And the email was all about toxic mold, because I have a 100-year-old house, and I believe that it may have some mold issues in one of the rooms in the walls. And I've been investigating it. I've been learning and educating myself on toxic mold and trying to find out is this really a problem? Is it not? I mean, it's really a problem for some people. I'm just trying to, and so I've been talking to friends about it. I got this email forwarded to me from a friend about the toxic.
Who evidently knew that you were searching for this.
Right. Well, she knew because we had a conversation about it.
Right.
Right. And she forwarded it to me, and it was the Toxic Mold Summit. Toxic Mold Summit. Who would have thunk it? Who would have thunk it? So it's interesting because who really wants to learn about toxic mold? Like, nobody really wants to, but like when it's messing your life up or potentially messing your life up, all of a sudden something that like doesn't sound very interesting gets real interesting real fast. And so I went and I opted in, and I looked at the page, and I was like, oh yeah, I forgot that I basically invented the summit model. So here's what happened. Back in the day in 2003, I went through InPod, which Joshua created. And it's a 20-lesson program. This was 17 years ago. I went through, I listened to all the lessons on CD. I did the homework in the workbook. I filled out the worksheets. I answered the questions, and I walked away with a blueprint for launching my first internet business that was hopefully actually going to work. And I did, and it worked, and I had my first $1 million year, and it was called List Crusade. So here's what happened is I realized that I wanted to build a business online, and it seemed to me at the beginning of InPod, and then definitely by the end, but at the beginning of InPod, it seemed to me that email marketing and list building really was the least common denominator of all the people that were successful online at the time that I could spot, right? And I was like, everybody that seems to be doing this right seems to have an email list, but I don't know how to do that. And so I was like, how am I going to get a better, real practical, real world application education on email marketing? How am I going to get really good at this stuff? I was like, I'm going to interview everybody. I possibly can.
Right.
And I ended up interviewing over 80 of the biggest names in personal development and internet marketing at the time. Okay. Jay Abraham signed off on the project, and his signature was underneath the headline of our squeeze page for listeners.
I remember.
We had Mark Victor Hansen and Jack Canfield and T. Harv Eker. We had, Mark Joyner. We had we had the Nitro Boys. We had Sean Casey. Just all these amazing people. I could go on and on. There's so many people that I'm not mentioning right now. And at first, when I started doing these interviews, first of all, I didn't have any products of my own that I could sell because I didn't know how to write long copy yet. I didn't have that skill. And every single time I tried to sell my own stuff, nobody would freaking buy it. Okay? Very frustrating. And so instead, I was like, damn it. All right, I'll just promote other people's stuff who have sales letters that might actually work so I can see what my people will actually buy. Right? And that's how I got into affiliate marketing. And so what happened was I did all these interviews with all these people, and I asked all these basic questions because I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I didn't mind admitting that publicly because I was curious about finding out what to do and how to handle it well.
Yeah.
So the questions I would ask,
what better way to get the juice? Because who doesn't want to help somebody out that's genuinely interested in learning, and asking questions?
But the problem is that so often talk show hosts don't want to look dumb, okay? Especially like podcast hosts or people that are doing interviews.
What do you mean? You call me dumb?
They want a posture. They want to be seen as just as important, just as intelligent, just as successful as the person they're interviewing. Well, let me tell you what. That is the quickest, easiest, and fastest way to disconnect from your audience.
Yeah.
As it turns out, the more you can be your audience, the better. So what happened is I started asking questions, and as I was asking those questions, I encouraged my audience to write in with questions. And then I would ask audience questions in future interviews. And then I'd even mention the person from the audience, from the list, who asked the question by name in the middle of the interview. And then they'd hear it when they hear the interview later. And it was just this amazing thing. Point is, I interviewed all these people on email marketing and on.
Can I interrupt your flow just for a second? Because I want people to, like, you glossed over this part. And like all the great people that you got to interview, but talk about like the 60 some odd no's that you got. Anybody would sign on to this thing with you.
Okay. So it wasn't all, what do you say? Sunshine and butterflies?
Sunshine and lollipops.
Sunshine and lollipops. I guess it's sunshine butterflies, right? So it's not all sunshine, butterflies, or lollipops. I got my ass kicked over and over and over again on my way to figuring this out. So my name is Tillman Knudsen. I live in rural Vermont, and I'm a hypnotist. Okay?
Strike 3, you're out.
So, like, I was a no-name, weird name, hypnotist in rural Vermont that nobody had ever heard of before. Okay? That's where I was starting. So everybody starts in a weird position, all right? Like, for the most part. I mean, some people are in a great position, but, like, for the most part.
But everybody's got their perceived constraints to overcome, and their bullshit that they've got to get over. That's mental. So.
Right, and that's the hardest part, honestly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to do this interview series. I had no idea how to pitch it. I had no credibility. I had nobody that could vouch for me, really. And so I started asking for people to get involved in my interview series, and I figured I'd start by going to like C-level list owners, like people, essentially people hanging out in the Warrior Forum. Okay, like people who just became a internet marketing guru yesterday, and like 3 days ago they bought their first internet marketing product, and now they're internet marketing guru. Those people, and I was because I figured like they were like posting in the forums. They were accessible. Okay,
yeah, and they have a perceived authority.
They knew more than I did, and so I started reaching out to these guys, and they wouldn't get involved in my interview series. Like these C-listers. I was like, what the heck? And my pitch was bad. My vision for the project was unclear. I was just like trying it out. And long story short is I got 63 no's in a row. I got rejected. Bold-faced rejection. 63 freaking times before I got my first yes. Okay. So
I don't know where you were in that process when you told me about it, but I remember to this day where you told me about it and how it unfolded. And I thought, here's a nice guy, and get the hell away from me. He's talking a big game, but I didn't have any confidence that you were going to get it done. And it was at Sean Casey's customer appreciation seminar, and we were all sitting around like a boardroom lunch table, and you shared this whole vision for I'm going to build a 1 million person list, blah blah blah, and I'm like, okay, that's great. And then I was like on to my next thought of what I needed to do for that day.
All right, one more guy who's blowing smoke. For sure.
Yeah, and I'll never forget it because you adjusted. And you made it real, and you became legitimate, by learning from all of this.
Well, here's what happened. Okay, so I'm a big student of NLP, and the whole idea of like change your approach, change your results. But I was frustrated. I was pissed. I felt rejected. I felt stupid. I felt like, yet again, another business attempt that's not going to work. Try number 8.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna get another mouthful of dirt. Fantastic. But what happened was, after about 40 no's, I was like, okay, how can I do this differently? And so what I did was, the next person that told me no, and I don't even remember who it was, I was like, yo, I respect your no. Cool. and I'm not going to try to convince you to change your mind, but I do have a favor to ask. I'd like to know why you said no, and I'd like to know how I could adjust my approach or my idea so it would be more appealing for the next person that I talk to. Would you be willing to give me some feedback on that before we hang up?
Yeah.
So rather than saying no and me feeling dejected and rejected again and essentially hanging up the phone and being like, fuck that guy, I was like,
showed you how to tic-tac.
which is totally how I felt, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, how I felt was like, fuck this guy, another asshole. But
yeah, it's sometimes hard not to feel that way.
Right. But instead I was like, okay, let's swallow the pride here and see what happens. And I started getting advice from people on how to adjust my approach and the way that I was going after this thing. And I did. And I started getting yeses. It took me another 23 no's before I started getting yeses, but I did. And once I started getting a few yeses, then in short order, I got
Dam broke. Yeah.
Then I got jailbroke. And then
everybody said yes.
Everybody said yes. Exactly.
Not only that, they wanted to be associated with it because they wanted to have like the halo effect of Jay Abraham spilling over on them that came by way of List Crusade.
Do you have any idea how many apology emails I got for people asking to be involved after the fact?
I can imagine.
Unbelievable. So, yeah. And then many of those people that said no became students of mine also, I'd like to point out. So nice. It's just very interesting. And so what I did was I interviewed all these people. I loaded the interviews up. And this was, I interviewed them on a bridge line with a recorder. So they were low-grade interviews. Okay, these were not high-quality interviews. They were done over the phone. They were very crackly, very high pitch, very no good depth of sound. And they're usually about 30 minutes. And then I took the audio file and put them on a streaming audio player and stuck them up on a web page. And then I wrote emails, 2 emails per interview that went out. And I think two interviews went out per week. So it was like 4 emails were dedicated for interviews per week in the autoresponder sequence. And then I'd take another additional email for each interview and just do a direct promotion for the product that we were selling at the end of the interview. So really it was 3 emails per interview that went out, which is 6 emails a week just in the autoresponder series, right?
Right.
And lined that whole thing up. And then I asked everybody that I interviewed to promote the thing, and some of them did and some of them didn't.
Take a breath just for a second. I want to acknowledge Sunshine because the comments are not coming through from the Art of Email Marketing. So
that's happening again, huh?
that's in there. And she says, definitely sunshine and butterflies.
Okay.
And then also somebody just came through, and it did come through probably on one of our profiles. And she says, that's awesome. I'm wondering what it was that triggered that thought for you, that in what Telman was talking about. What was it that you found inspiring so that we know for future reference?
That's right. And that's Anselika, if I pronounced that correctly. So yeah, what happened was I started making money on a consistent basis, and so many of these interviews were about email marketing and list building at their core that I just did my best to implement as many of the techniques that the interviewees shared as possible. And as I was implementing them, what happened is I got more traffic streams coming into my business.
Yep.
More people joining my list every day, more people hearing the interviews every day, and more people buying the products that we were selling at the end of the interviews every day. So it started growing. Right. And it's Angie. You got it, Angie. And Angie says, asking for the feedback to get results. Yeah, it really made a big difference for me. I mean, it was humbling, but like, great, right? So good. And so between email marketers and list owners mailing out for the series and me implementing all the techniques that they were suggesting, I really started making some money. And basically we got up to $8,000, $9,000, $10,000 a month in affiliate commissions that we were earning on a consistent basis because of this. Really, it was a podcast. It was a podcast with an email sequence, really.
Right.
And that was good, but one of the biggest problems was it was really hard to get the interviewees to actually do a good, solid promotion because we had nothing for sale that was our own. And so they weren't earning direct money when they did the promotion, meaning they could just be promoting their own stuff that day and make money, or they could promote my stuff that day and not make any money. Yeah. So even though they agreed to promote, they didn't, okay, because of that issue. Very frustrating. So what was the solution? Well, the solution was, for me, teleseminars. Alex Mandosian launched Teleseminar Secrets. I was like, I'd like to sell some $2,000 products at the end of a teleseminar. I've got a bunch of people that do teleseminars and or do stage presentations and sell home study programs and packages of some sort.
Now, was this the birth of the summit model?
Well, the List Crusade was really the birth because it was a big interview series, right? And that was the early stage. I mean, I didn't call it a summit, but that's really what it was.
Right.
And then when I started doing webinars, what happened is the amount of money that we were able to make every time I did an interview exploded, and that 10x'd my income.
Yeah.
But when I could do a big webinar, okay, or a teleseminar, and make tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars from a 90-minute call. And that was like the biggest promotion that person had ever gotten. It was no problem getting them to promote me after that because I just put money in their bank account, right?
Right.
And then people were jumping on board to find ways to promote me so that I would do a webinar with them. And that was magic, right?
Sure.
So that really
talk for a minute just to make sure that it's clear for everybody about the cross list building aspects of this type of an approach because it's powerful.
So I'll talk about this. I mean, first of all, you can do this with a podcast. You can do this with a webinar series. You can do this with a Facebook Live group, with a Facebook group and a series of Facebook Live interviews. Okay. Yeah. You can do it with teleseminars still if you wish. As a matter of fact, maybe we should do a telesummit, and I bet we'd crush it, honestly.
We could do Zoom without the cameras.
we could still just use a bridge line with a phone number. It'd be crazy.
True.
But whatever. Either way, teleseminars or not, here's how it works. You say, yo, I'm going to do a summit on blank topic, okay? You know you want to build a list around this niche or topic or tribe, okay? You get between 10 and 20 of the biggest, best, largest list owners in the space to agree to be part of your series and sell their flagship product or service at the end of their presentation. Part of the deal is they all have to promote the series, and the series is happening from this date to this date. Maybe it's a week, maybe it's a 3-day event, maybe it's a 2-week event. It all depends on how you decide to structure it. There are pluses and minuses to both. When they promote it, everybody goes to an opt-in page. They put in their name and email address to register for whatever it is, even if it's a podcast series, right? And basically, if you really want people to promote this hard, you've got to figure out something to sell. And the easiest thing to sell for most people are the recordings and transcripts of the event. Okay? Now, this has also been highly overdone in the summit model, and there are lots of summit owners that are going to say, but Tillman, that doesn't work anymore. And the answer is, the way that you used to sell it doesn't work anymore. So try something different, right? Like try selling it in a different model than you used to do in the past. If you want to sell your recordings and transcripts. And if you can't manage to sell your recordings and transcripts, then you can sell something else that the market might really like. Now, maybe
and also, if here's a lesson, though. If you can't sell the recordings and transcripts, chances are that the subject matter isn't compelling enough.
It's true.
That it isn't engaging enough, that it's not getting people that they, if they wouldn't pay for it, then why do it? Like, I mean, right. The idea is to give them some sort of value, utility, insights that they find useful, that they go, cool, this is awesome, to the point where like, man, this is so cool. I wish I had I wish I could listen to this multiple times, or I wish I could go back and really, really consume this and digest all of this down. Then you've got something, because now when you're giving them the full deal, you're not holding anything back, but you're also giving them reason, and they actually want it. Now, so the moral of this story, at least from my point of view, is make sure that you've got something that people really want, and that they're like, willing to go to war over, to get a hold of, type thing.
That's right. However, there are also other options too. Okay, so I agree with you, Joshua, but I also know that it has, because their summits have become so popular because the model works, that in industries where summits are saturated, internet marketing being one of them,
right.
It really is harder. Like what used to work to sell those recordings and transcripts doesn't work as well or as easily as it used to at all.
Sure, you got to enhance it.
So what can you do? Okay, I'll tell you some things that you can do. The first thing that you can do is, if you have confidence and you know how to create products, is you can create some products that directly serve your market. Okay? Now, if you don't have the ability to do that quickly, then what you can do is you can go to your speakers and you can say, hey, would you like to be involved in the co-creation of a product with us that we're going to sell on the thank you page after people register for the event? Okay? You don't have to, but if you do, it'll be a great chance for you to do some teaching about blank and to give another pitch for your product or service at the end. Okay? Or whatever, it'd be another way of engaging with
another channel.
The audience. And some people will say yes, some people might say no, but doing a interview-based co-creation product is a great collaborative product, is a great way. And guess what? These people that agreed to do interviews with you will totally have ideas on how to create products that will serve the market that they haven't taken action on yet. Some of them will absolutely partner with you on, if you're the project manager and you're going to bring that shit to completion.
Because it just brings it into action. Yeah.
So that's an option. And then another option is, if you don't have time to actually create products, is you can license products from your speakers and just tell them that you'll give them 15% of whatever you earn or whatever as an additional override. You're going to sell their products and you'll give them a list of all the customers that buy their products or something like that. Like, many people will do that all day long. You can create product bundles where you license a bunch of products from a bunch of speakers, bundle them together and sell that. And then you can also sell other people's software, other people's membership sites, other people's coaching programs, other people's group programs. You can even drive to other people's high-end coaching consulting packages and deals with opt-in forms and applications and strategy sessions and the whole thing, and work out deals. As long as you're upfront with everybody and everybody understands what's happening, so that your speakers all know what they're getting paid for and everybody's paid appropriately, you absolutely can sell the products and services of the speakers who are involved. And here's the beautiful part about that. Most of the copy is already written for you.
Right.
Okay? Because there's already sales letters.
And they're pre-screened because they're engaged in the subject matter that is around the summit. So it makes,
that's right.
Makes for that predetermined way to buy, so to speak.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, for example, Gene, you could totally do the Art at Home Summit, right? Or the Coastal Art Summit, but I would recommend the Art at Home Summit, and you get a dozen speakers who are all selling some cool stuff that allows people to create or do art at home, right? Whether it be adult.
But finish executing on the stuff we talked about last.
I don't mean to do that. Yeah, in the future, this is an idea for the future. But so depending on your niche, and Jean is an artist. She creates art, she sells art, and she teaches people how to paint themselves. And so I was just giving her an example of how she could apply the summit model for growth in the future. So yeah, it's a really great model. one of the coolest parts about it that I truly didn't realize when I started was that because I started to figure out how to build an email list so I could sell hypnosis and salsa on the internet. That's what I wanted to figure out. That's why I was involved with InPod. That's why I applied for the Nitro project thing that got us connected in the first place. As I wanted to learn how to sell my own stuff online, and I couldn't figure it out for the love of God.
Well, and that's what I genuinely love about your approach, because like you didn't get into the game, so to speak, to be the guru, internet marketing guy. You became that by applying this and actually putting it to work in the real world and making it work. And, so many people get like, there was like 3 categories of people that would buy InPod, but by far the larger category of people were the ones that saw that what I was doing and I was selling, and they wanted to get into the training development business, but they had never had a successful business online.
Right. And
they didn't see the 5 years prior to me launching InPod, where I was working across 50 something different industries and had, tens of millions of dollars in successes and failures, and, the whole Megillah, that took to be able to produce the InPod program that it was based on. And it's very common to want to shift too fast into the, let me teach you what I just learned. And I'm like, well, wait a minute, where's the credibility in that? Anyway, I don't mean to get off on a soapbox rant there.
No, but it's true. It's really, really interesting. In terms of when you have something in your heart that you want to do, whether it's a particular product or service that you want to create, or whether it's because it solved a problem in your life, or you have a problem in your life and you're trying to find a solution for it, or a particular community of people that you have dedicated your life to serving, right? Yeah. Those are really good reasons to build an email list and build a business that's focused on helping people to move forward or achieve success in whatever area of life you're specializing in, right?
Yeah, for sure.
But if it's just about making money and you're just being a fanboy or a fangirl, like, you're not going to last. It's cool that you're to be a hobbyist, but it's really important that you make a choice whether you're going to be an internet marketing hobbyist or whether you're going to be a pro, whether you're going to be a wantrepreneur or whether you're going to be an entrepreneur. There's a big difference.
For sure.
Right? I say I don't know. I feel like an asshole every time I say that, but it's true. Like, this makes such a big difference whether or not you're just going to push through the obstacles. And
not only that, it's so much easier to apply this stuff in a non-internet marketing space, because the people that are having success straight up internet marketing and marketing in general, and in that space, they got chops. And you're going up against the best of the best. Why? Because they have to be able to produce the results consistently in that kind of a competitive environment.
That's right.
But when you start applying this to an obscure, small little subset where it's never been thought of, where they've never seen communication in this style, you're Moses splitting the waters, it's amazing what happens, and it's so much easier. Right.
Well, so I went on to do this in a whole bunch of niches, probably ones that I'm not even going to remember now. So I built a great attention deficit disorder business where it was all hypnosis and NLP audio recordings. I built it initially on my own, and then I partnered up with Stephanie Frank, and we grew it bigger. It was like a $30,000 a month personal development business that used hypnosis to help people with ADD, right?
Yeah, I remember.
Totally awesome. That one worked really well. I've done a bunch. I've started several hypnosis-based personal development companies at this point. Most of those all worked really well too, and all got to a pretty high level. I did try doing one for barefoot running that was like a total failure. And then I did some stuff with like astral projection and some more like metaphysical spiritual stuff that was okay, but was
that based on the Monroe stuff, that your experience there?
Well, I mean, that certainly educated me and helped me come up with some things that were useful. But yeah, and that's been a very long-standing interest of mine is astral projection and the ability to travel for one's consciousness to travel outside of your body, which I know is probably weird for some people, but like it's pretty cool to fly around like a ghost, actually.
I'll never forget your story, and this is for another time, but your story about driving home from that Monroe experience on the highway.
Yeah.
And I did think you were absolutely nuts. And this is after we were long after we were friends. And I remember just laughing my ass off. And this was in when we went to see Joyner in New Zealand.
Yeah.
And I, as much fun and as much shit as I gave you about it, I went back to my room and ordered every single fucking CD that the Monroe Institute made.
That's right. They're awesome.
They are. They really are.
Yeah, I did a lot of study of all that and brainwaves and binaural beats and brainwave entrainment in college, and was originally interested for peak performance with running, and then I got into the more woo-woo spiritual stuff a little bit later. But yeah, it works really well. And so the point here is, guys, that you can there are so many different ways that you can build your platform. There are so many different ways that you can build your list. Some of them require hard work. Some of them require money. Most of them require some money and some hard work, and some more money, some less money, some more hard work, some less hard work, right?
Yeah, and I mean, here's something that I just want to point out. Even if you've got a shit ton of money and you can put it into advertising and stuff, I highly recommend that unless you've got chops already, you don't start there.
Right.
Start with the manual labor, start with the hard work, because then you're going to learn all about like the adaptive process that Tillman had to go through to figure out how to, hone his message, not only to the people that he wanted to partner with, but to the ultimately to the audience of something that they would find valuable and want to, engage with.
That's right.
And once you know that, then extending it through to, and by knowing that, I mean like proven results that are quote unquote organic with the, the hard work, manual labor, elbow grease approach. And then turning that into a marketing machine and an advertising machine is super powerful. And then you will also have the ability to scale that beyond all, reasonable expectations, frankly.
Yeah, so give this some thought, right? Is that when you start out by putting time in, because it's going to be hard work either way, guys. Like True. You're going to work your ass off. If you're going to have a wildly successful business, you're going to work your ass off. So if you're not totally down with that, go get a job. But seriously, you're going to have to work your ass off. So,
I mean, there's no way around it.
Maybe there is. If there is, let me know.
I stopped looking. That's when I actually started making money.
That's
when
right.
I stopped looking for the magic cure.
That's right. So, for example, let's say you're on LinkedIn. As a matter of fact, I'm talking with a potential client who has a lot of momentum on LinkedIn, doesn't really have much momentum on Facebook, has zero momentum on YouTube, doesn't really operate in any of the other channels, and is in a B2B environment. And so LinkedIn's where he spent all of his time. Great. So
perfect, ideal, because that's where that's where his people are.
That's right. So LinkedIn is a traffic source, first of all. Okay, that's like reminder number one. LinkedIn is a traffic source, right? Number two, it's a feeder for your email list. Number two, you could do the entire summit on LinkedIn. Now, when I say on LinkedIn, I don't mean the topic should be LinkedIn. I mean that you could start a LinkedIn group and the entire summit could be videos on LinkedIn. Okay. Now, how are you going to record those videos? Well, you could record them using Restream like we're doing right now, and they could be split screen, or you could use Zoom or whatever. After the video's done, you save it, you upload it, you stick it inside the LinkedIn group, okay? So now you're inviting all your friends to join your LinkedIn group, except you're going to actually have them join your email list, and then you're going to have them, join your LinkedIn group afterward. And this isn't about LinkedIn because essentially all of the other social media platforms have something very similar that you can do, okay?
Yeah.
One way or the other, you're going to use LinkedIn as a traffic source And since you
The
know all
core
your,
principles don't change, though.
right. Facebook, it's just as easy, if not significantly easier to do this. You could totally do an interview series on your YouTube channel. Okay? Same thing. Okay, this is not complicated. Well, it is complicated. It is complicated. I'm full of shit about it not being complicated. There are a lot of little details. So it's simple and it's complicated.
And the barrier to entry is nothing. Like,
Right.
I mean, anybody can decide today that they're going to do this, and boom, nobody can stop you other than you.
Yeah, and so like you could do a whole summit on like the world's sourest candies. Sour candy summit. People that like sour candy would go freaking bananas for it.
That's brilliant,
Right?
brother. I love that whole, what just spilled out, sour candy summit.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I had the weirdest hard cider the other day. So most of my family's pretty much gluten-free, and so I've been mostly gluten-free for the last however many years. And so I generally steer clear of most beer at this point. But I live in Vermont, and there's a lot of really great hard cider, and there's a lot of like funky hard cider that is like dry hopped, like IPAs and all these things. And there's this one. I don't normally go for the sweet things. The sweet things aren't really my thing, just in life. But I went to buy some hard cider, and there's this hard cider that is by Stowe Cider, and they called it Brainwaves, first of all. And it had this crazy, like, psychedelic drawing of a brain on the thing. So I was
Right up your alley.
I was sold with the name.
Right.
But they it was gummy bear hard cider where they fermented it with gummy bears, and then they did something where they poured it over. It had a whole description on the can where they poured it over sour candy of the same flavor. And so you drank this hard cider that was normally really high quality, like fancy hard cider that tasted essentially like sour gummy bears. It was a very weird experience.
Would you do it again, or was that enough?
Oh, I think I had enough. Brainwaves.
Yeah.
Anyway, sour candy summit. You can do it around anything, right? And whether it's so LinkedIn, if you already have traffic, if you already have momentum, if you already have traction, if you already have interaction, if you already have connection, if you already have community, if you already have a network of people on a platform, that's a great jump start. That's a great place to start. Just remember, your focus is to use that platform to the best of its ability to grow your email list. Because sooner or later, that platform's going to go away or shut you down. It's going to stop being popular, like MySpace.
And you can't go directly to them, right? Because just like, LinkedIn, just like Facebook, it's controlled over so many other dynamics. I mean, even if your accounts aren't shut down, it's who's online, when they see you in the news feed, what it shows up as, the different algorithm type metrics that are involved there. And so just because you have so many fans or followers on a particular platform does not mean that you can reach out and potentially touch each one of them like you can with email, where, in theory, you could reach out and have the chance to communicate in a one-on-one environment with your entire list, where you can't do that even if you have 1 million fans on Instagram or whatever. There's no guarantee that when you put a message out through that medium alone that you can reach everybody.
Right. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And I don't know, last few weeks I've been noticing on Facebook, just people posting this stupid post that's like, Facebook only lets you see, lets 25 people see your posts, and there's a workaround to this. There's a way of, getting through the Facebook loophole by copying and pasting this message and pasting it into Facebook, and it's chainmail. Okay.
And even if it was true, a loophole is just that. It only works for a slight little bit until everybody exploits it and it goes away. And this obviously bullshit, but I mean, that's the problem with these hacks and loopholes and all this stuff. It's always going to be temporary.
It is. But the reason that I'm mentioning it is because tons of people are doing it, because even on Facebook, You can be friends with thousands of people, and then that doesn't mean Facebook's going to put your message in front of them. And it's a frustration for everyone, right? And so that's where it comes back to that level of interactivity, where the real loophole is to have conversation and connection happening wherever you can with your fans, followers, subscribers, clients, and customers.
And building anticipation. You know, I mean, there's a reason why Gene knows to show up here at 11 o'clock every day, is because we have, you know, we're building and, you know, conditioning expectations and interacting in that fashion. And obviously Gene gets value out of being here and enjoys being a part of the conversation with us here. And so the more that you do that with the rest of your fan base or your friends or whatever, you start to build that anticipation, expectations, the relationship unfolds so that they are looking for those communications. And it's still easier. I mean, imagine if you could send out an email to your entire list before you go live, you know, saying, hey, in 15 minutes, I'm doing a special, you know, presentation, and Tillman's going to be chatting about blah, 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 blah. And we're going to be going deep on this and this and that. And, you know, see you on, if you can make it to Facebook to join live, then you can ask us questions. If you can't, make sure that you come for the recorded version. And, you know, because this is going to be one that you don't want to miss. Mm-hmm. Now you're driving back to Facebook, but you know, I mean, the chances of having that kind of interaction be, you know, when you have both going on, is so much stronger and better.
It really is across the board.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I guess the long and short of this, guys, is that number one, we have a cool webinar coming up this week, and we actually haven't finished setting up the registration page yet. More specifically, I haven't finished setting up the registration page yet. We're doing a webinar on platform building and how you can build your own platform. That's what we've been talking about today and for the last several weeks. If you're interested in really building a connection with your people, setting it up so that you can get more and more fans, followers, subscribers, customers, and clients on your list on a daily basis, have long-term relationships with them, and sell products and services that you're creating or representing directly to your people because they want to buy them. If that sounds good to you, type platform into the comments and I will give you a link. If you send me a private message, I will give you a link to where you can register for our platform building webinar. So type platform in the comments if you want to get in on that. I'm not going to drop the link into the comments because we're broadcasting in like a bunch of different places. So if you want that, then say platform in the comments and shoot me or Joshua a private message asking for a link to the platform webinar, depending on whose version of this live stream you're watching right now. Just go ahead and type platform into the comments and then send us a private message, and we will give you an invitation to join us on our platform building webinar a little bit later this week, where we're going to teach you the ins and the outs of building your own platform so that you can really start taking advantage of the incredible power that we're talking about here.
Katrine Albert says platform, and then Angie asked for she's a beginner, and what books would you recommend to read? What area are you interested in? Oh, and she also says platform. Awesome, Angie. What area are you interested in working in? Because that will help us to make some recommendations to you.
That's right. Meaning, like, what niche or market do you want to go into, Angie? Awesome. And we can talk about that more on the webinar as well. Yeah. So, yeah, guys, if you're interested in getting a link to join us, free webinar, we're doing it for you, teaching more about email marketing, platform building, audience building, tribe creation, connection with your people, selling your stuff online, building an email list, basically being awesome in every possible way. Then type platform in the comments.
Doing work that matters, that you're proud of, that you enjoy.
We're going to teach you how to grow a big, weird beard. It's a bonus.
I didn't learn that.
We're going to do a bonus. I'm going to hypnotize you to grow a big, weird beard.
Financial services. Awesome. Okay.
That's great. You know, one thing that I did notice, Joshua, is I noticed a lot of people in the last few days in the real estate world have been raising their hand for us. Have you noticed that?
I haven't noticed that, but now that you mention it, yes.
You know, there have been a whole bunch for some reason. I'm curious. I think we should. You know what? I'm curious. Is there anybody watching who in some way, shape, or form is actively in real estate and trying to figure out how to build a deeper bond and connection with real estate prospects and leads to sell more real estate? If so, just chime in. Let us know. I'm just genuinely curious.
The one also that if you are, or even if you're not, where I would highly recommend, depending on where you're seeing this, what channel you're on, just look back, not this past Friday, but the Friday before that. I think it was the 24th, if my memory serves me correctly, of July, where we talked with Tellman's sister, Sarah, and that has some really powerful insights that we shared specifically about platform building. We happen to be applying it to in the real estate sector because that's where Sarah operates, but it's so directly applicable to so many different things. And I can't tell you how many people have reached out to me after seeing that particular live stream that we did, saying it was like so impactful and powerful for them. So I really highly recommend that you just scroll back through, the last 10 and look for I forget what the name of it was, but you'll find it. It was a Friday, not this past Friday, but the Friday before that.
That's really funny. No, I guess it's funny because no one's reached out to me and told me that. So that's hilarious.
I've gotten several direct messages.
It was a really good one, but it brings up the idea. You know how we've been like trying to do these hot seats, but it's like pulling teeth trying to get people to raise their hand?
Yeah.
I guarantee if we asked Sarah if she'd come on for a hot seat, and we just the three of us on screen, she would love it. And I bet if we just decided who we wanted to bring on the hot seat from a variety of industries that we know that already like us and know we're not going to like embarrass them publicly or whatever, at least not too bad, that would absolutely...
Well, I mean, her brother, so you embarrass her just being you.
Okay. But in all seriousness, I think it could be cool for us to hand select some entrepreneurs in a wide variety of industries and just talk about how we can apply platform building to their business or industry. And if we chose a lot of just common professions, common businesses that
I think that'd be cool to do that as a webinar series too, where we just take like for Angie, for example, we could just talk about how to apply this to the financial services. That's right. Assuming, Angie, that you have a following already, or that you're successful at it, and that you're not just starting this brand new. From that aspect, that you already have some experience, but because of the whole pandemic and all of that, you need to shift into an online environment and build a platform around it. We could really start to have some fun with those types of things. Particularly, I think it's important with beginners because I think it becomes overcomplicated, and it doesn't have to be.
I agree. Awesome. Well, we've been going strong for about an hour and 20 minutes here. I think it might be time to wrap. So for those of you just joining us, I would definitely recommend that you watch the rest of this live stream. It was a good one today. We are doing a webinar later this week on how to build your own platform, aka how to build a giant, wildly successful, highly responsive email list of people who want to buy all your stuff. If you're interested in that, type platform into the comments. And send me and or Joshua a private message letting us know so we can make sure to give you the link in Messenger. Okay.
And to answer Angie's question about a specific book, what I would recommend that you do is anything in the direct response field, but specifically, if I were you, Angie, I would go and seek out and find Breakthrough Advertising by Eugene Schwartz. It is the Bible, and it is an amazing process of how to adapt your marketing. And even though it was written back in the 60s or 70s, it is profoundly timely today in the online world by adapting some of these things and really getting your core understanding from Eugene. I mean, and he's a brilliant teacher on top of that, besides being
Right.
a phenomenal direct response marketer.
Wicked old school and wicked valuable. Eugene Schwartz,
Wicked.
advertising. Wicked. I definitely, it's wicked good marketing. I agree with it. I agree. Definitely.
I mean, and look at my bookshelf behind me, although you probably can't see it because I think it's probably backwards. But I mean, I've got millions of dollars, literally, of books and tapes and training programs, all on this subject matter. And but not to get completely overwhelmed. But there's all sorts of really phenomenal stuff. But I would start with Eugene Schwartz based on just this limited interaction that we've had.
That gives me some interesting ideas, which I'll tell you about later. All right,
Sounds
guys.
good.
We'll talk to you soon. Enjoy your afternoon, and we'll see everybody tomorrow.
Thanks, guys.
Over and out.
See ya.